This was all over Twitter yesterday as people were losing their minds. I love pretty much everything there is to love about this story. There's a filmmaker named Meg Smaker. And she smade a film inside of a Saudi rehabilitation center for accused terrorists. So I guess we're in favor of this idea in general. I mean, if you're going to start releasing people from Gitmo, I'd rather they go through the Saudi rehabilitation center for accused terrorists than just like back to business. And she made a documentary called Jihad Rehab. They invited her to present it at the 2022 Sundance Festival, one of the most prestigious showcases in the world, quoting from the New York Times. Her documentary centered on 4 former Gitmo detainees sent to a rehab center in Saudi Arabia who had opened their lives to her, speaking of youthful attraction to Al-Qaeda and the Taliban, of torture endured, and of regrets. Film critics warned that conservatives might bridle at these human portraits. But reviews after the festival's screening were strong. But attacks would come from the left, not the right. Arab and Muslim filmmakers and their white supporters accused Ms. Smaker of Islamophobia and American propaganda. Some suggested her race was disqualifying a white woman who presumed to tell the story of Arab men. I can't wait until we get to the point where only white people can tell the stories of white people. Because you realize white people have dominated this country for a good 200 plus years. Like if we're going to do that, there's not going to be a lot of stories left, right? Okay, so is this how we really want to go? Sundance leaders reversed themselves and apologized. They're sorry they filmed her screen. And then here's the capper. Abigail Disney, God, this woman's a pain in the ass, grand niece of Walt Disney, had been the executive producer of Jihad Rehab and called it freaking brilliant in an email to Ms. Smaker. Now she has disavowed it. There's some, I don't know, what did she say? Hold on, I want to find the exact quote where she said she underestimated how much they were going to hate it. And I absolutely failed to understand just how exhausted by and disgusted with the perpetual representation of Muslim men and women as terrorists or former terrorists or potential terrorists the Muslim people are. So, what do we make of this?
I mean, where do you even start? There's so many issues here.
So many.
So I should just disclose, I've personally dealt with a little tiny bit of this. I co-wrote a book with a Black author called The Business Secrets of Drug Dealing. I basically ghost wrote a book with an anonymous, uncaught drug dealer. And I caught a lot of flack for putting my name on the book of the story of a Black person. Even though we're close friends and this was basically just me being a ghostwriter. You know, I wasn't cultural appropriation. I got criticized for that. And so this is now, a factor that you have to consider when you're doing reporting. I mean, I also wrote a book about the Eric Garner case, and I think that would be difficult to get that kind of book contract these days because of the tension of a white reporter covering that story. Now, I wrote that book because I happened to live near the area and went to the place, and from the stories, I liked the character and I felt like I could connect with it and try to tell that story. But that's not the only consideration now for journalists. You have to think about all this other stuff. And then there's the other crazy thing where now we don't want, we're worried about people seeing documentaries about questionable characters just because we're trying to learn about them. Like, that's somehow bad. And we saw this with Alex Lee Moyer's movie, That Feeling When No GF, about incel culture. Apparently that was bad because we got to see these people, but they weren't just brutally criticized. We actually learned what they were all about. I think that's what journalism is for, isn't it? Like, we're supposed to be learning why things happen. And suddenly that's dangerous. I don't know what you think. I think that's crazy.
I mean, what's crazy is it sounds like this film is rather sympathetic toward these accused terrorists who are now reforming themselves thanks to their rehab. And they were worried that the right was going to think it was too sympathetic. Meanwhile, the right's like, we don't give a shit. Like, do your thing. We're not the ones who are censoring. That's yesteryear. Now it's the left who censors. And the left doesn't seem to be saying, you've misportrayed these guys. The left is saying just the fact that you would highlight them having, being reformed terrorists is somehow wrong. And the color of the filmmaker is wrong. It's like, I'm sorry, but they are apparently admitted terrorists trying to reform themselves. And there's no question who attacked us on 9/11. Doesn't mean all Muslim people are bad, but sorry, they did come from Saudi Arabia, and this is a piece of our history. There's nothing, we're not going to whitewash it. Next thing you know, we're going to see reform movies where the 9/11 hijackers were all white. That's going to make the left feel better. That can air at Sundance.
Well, first of all, if they're saying that, I think they misunderstood the point of the movie. Because if they're saying this is a caricature of Arab people as terrorists, my understanding of what this film is now, I should admit I haven't seen it, but what it does do is it presents the argument of these people and shows why they were attracted to this cause, which was very taboo in our culture for a long time. I mean, we went 20 years in the United States really without hearing, well, why do people join groups like Al-Qaeda? I mean, there's no good reason that you would do that, but there are reasons, right? And we have to know what they are. It's like, that's important. And so if you're some kind of leftist and you're saying this is a bad film because it inaccurately portrays people as terrorists, when actually, from the sound of it, what it was doing was putting a sort of a neutral face on the argument for terrorism. They didn't seem to have a problem with that. That was strange.
Nor did they pick like some cab driver in New York and say, "Here's the Muslim man. Let's talk about how he's likely linked to terrorism." That's not what happened. These are Gitmo detainees who admit, according to what I read in the Times, that they were attracted to Al Qaeda and the Taliban. They received torture and so on. And they regret it. And so what Abigail Disney says is people are disgusted with the perpetual representation of Muslim men and women as terrorists or former terrorists or potential terrorists. It doesn't sound like that's what this film actually does. It talks about people who actually were potential terrorists and now regret it. So sorry if you don't want attention being called to one of the darkest chapters of American history, which was a mere 21 years ago, but it happens to be part of, you have no problem calling attention to, 1619 in American history. This one's a lot more recent and needs to be explained. Samantha from Arcadia, California is raving about Genucel's transformative results. She says, I love Genucel plant stem cell therapy. I've used it all over my face, under my eyes, and it cleared up the dry flakiness and even reduced my forehead lines. Someone even asked if I had work done. Nope, just Genucel, thanks. Genucel has sold over 1 million products to women and men across the country. Fine lines, forehead wrinkles, dark spots, sagging jawline, even those annoying bags and puffiness, gone without risky procedures. And with its immediate effects product, you'll get guaranteed results in as little as 12 hours, or you'll get your money back. See the difference for yourself with over 60% off their most popular packages at Genucel.com. But it gets better. Go to Genucel.com/MK now, and they will include the brand new Genucel Hyaluronic Acid Serum as a free gift. Powerful moisturizing effects to brighten your complexion and further reduce the appearance of visible signs of aging. Plus, all orders will get free express shipping. Visit Genucel.com/MK60. That's GENUCEL.com/MK60. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.